What is up? Thursday Night Football just came to a close. Bengals win. But the story of the night is Tua Tagovailoa, who was carted off the field, actually. And, let's dive into it right now. Well, the story of the night was Tua Tagovailoa laying there on the ground. And I think I speak for everyone. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen on a football field. Part of it was Amazon relentlessly focusing and just rewinding to his fingers and his hands. Uncomfortable. I mean, I can't even imagine, the pain the guy was in, but the viewer, what are we doing? I get this is your first year doing this, but give me a break. That was outrageous. The whole scene was a tough watch. No way around it. And, it took the whole second half. You're kind of taking it all in. And let's face it, I hate this story. Most people do. I'd rather that this, obviously, you don't root for this to happen. No one wants this to happen. Talking about things I do not know. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to the medical field. I barely got a fucking degree. But everyone's going to have an opinion, especially in the media. They're loud, and they love having medical opinions that, as we've seen the last couple of years, they have no clue what they're talking about. But on this one, you've earned either the benefit of the doubt or you haven't. And I think the league as a whole has taken huge strides, right? The league forever didn't care about player safety. It's not really debatable. I was born in the 80s. In the 90s, they played in terrible stadiums with awful turf, injuries. No one cared. Just throw the guy to the side. And obviously concussions. Hell, if you played high school football in the 90s, early 2000s, they would tell you to rub some dirt on it and get back in the game. Things have changed a lot in that environment when it comes to head injuries. But I think specifically in organizations, think about the people in life that you give the benefit of the doubt to. It's usually people that have a long history of doing right by you, right? It's like the older you get, they tell you, be careful who you trust in business. And at first, that's just a line. Someone's like, be careful, don't trust everyone. And then you get screwed over a couple times, and you realize you're always on your guard, right? But there are people that you haven't seen in 20 years, family, friends, people you grew up with that you would trust with your life, right? Because of you seeing them when you were younger, what they've done for you, your family, their character speaks for themselves. And then there are people like politicians. 99% of people don't trust any politicians. Why? They constantly lie to us. Why would we believe anything they say? In the NFL, we're always kind of torn. Do they actually care? Are they pretending to care? I don't know. Now, ultimately, the consumer doesn't really care. Ratings are up for record numbers. It's just skyrocketing ratings. But when it comes to concussions, tonight I thought was much more uncomfortable than last week. But last week was kind of weird, right? We have a long history now of watching guys get concussed, wobble off the field, hit the ground, and they've added this independent neurologist or guys basically to take it out of the coach and the team's hands. So as a coach, I say this all the time around the draft. When a doctor comes to you and says, this guy has a degenerate knee, what are you going to say? No, he doesn't. Of course not. You're not a medical doctor. You just got to have to go with whatever the doctor tells you. And last week when Tua was stumbling around, we've all seen enough of these situations to go, sure as hell looks like a concussion to me. But then they come out and say it's his back. And you go, that doesn't really add up. His back, the dude was wobbling around, hit the ground, and then he came back in the game. So, of course, they said it was a concussion because they couldn't put him back in the game. Now, if this was the Steelers, if this was the Packers, if this was a lot of organizations around the league, you'd be like, you know what? They have a long history. Trust them when they do something. But it's the Dolphins, who I've said over and over are one of the biggest clown shows in all of professional sports, who ironically, their owner is currently suspended because of everything that happened with Tom Brady. Remember when they tried to land Tom Brady? I always say this about Stephen Ross. He's always trying to do things in a shady way and never gets them done. He's always in part of these rumors, and they never come to fruition. So to me, when I see the Miami Dolphins, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. When something happens with the Miami Dolphins like tonight, you go, yeah, something's weird. Something doesn't add up. Now, they don't have an owner. Who's to blame? I don't know. It's Mike McDaniel. Like, was he the guy that cleared him? Of course not. He can't. So is now the doctor to blame because our head's going to roll? The NFLPA has been doing an investigation into this for like 3 or 4 days since it happened. And obviously tonight was, awful. But now what happens? Like, does Tua ever come back? Is the season over? Only time will tell. But this is the type of situation that with this organization, and here's the thing with the NFL. The media, the big J's, they hold nothing back. This thing is going to be a war zone until people get answers. Think about the NBA. Ime Udoka, who just had some weird thing going on internally with women. Well, he's protected by Woj, who has basically allowed ESPN to not attack that situation because he's been protecting him. There is the healthiest thing I've always said about the NFL when it comes to the media. No one protects anyone. Like the NBA, they get very like territorial and they don't want anything to get inside. But it's like in the NFL, it doesn't matter if you cover the sport and that's how you make your money. As a big J, you will attack and you will go after them. And that's what's going to happen. People are going to go after the Miami Dolphins. And you would say, based on the last 4 days, I have no problem with that. But I can't get up here and pretend to know anything that I didn't go to medical school. I got no clue. Did it look pretty bad last Sunday? Yeah, it did. Did he come back into the game and they said a back and that didn't add up? Of course it did. Tonight, pretty awful. But everyone's like, well, last week, I don't fucking know. What if it was his back? Clearly tonight with the fingers, never seen anything like that. That was, you get sick to your stomach watching the replays. That was awful. Thank God that he's being taken, he's able to be released from the hospital and fly home with the team. Now, I would say if I was the Miami Dolphins, probably give him a couple weeks off. I don't care when he's cleared. Like this next game, he probably shouldn't play. Now, the NFLPA, the union, I don't know how this is all going to work, but this is only the beginning. And the media is going to go into full attack mode. There is going to be no one protecting them, specifically because of this organization. People do not care about the Miami Dolphins. And people are going to want answers. And who do you even get answers from? There's not even an owner around. Mike McDaniel, he'll just go, well, the doctor told me this. Chris Greer, the GM, Florio thinks a bunch of people are going to get fired. Who knows? Tonight was really ugly. Hard to not get sick to your stomach when watching it. But, man, it's honestly, the weird part about Tua, the player, he would make some really good throws, and then he would make some deep throws that were pretty horrendous. And I was like, God, is Tua kind of growing on me? And then he threw a pick, and then that happened, and it was hard to even think about football. The craziest part about the sport is trying to almost watch the game after that happens. I can't imagine trying to play it and trying to reset your mind and play the sport. It's just, I don't think we give enough credit to the players, like the next snap, and you just go full go. It's like a dude might have, at one point in time, I'm like, did this guy just die on the field? I'm like, is Tua alive? That's what I thought. Is Tua alive? I think a lot of people were thinking that. Is the guy going to get up? And then like 10 minutes later, they're just playing a full football game. Teddy Bridgewater comes in, looks pretty good until he doesn't, and he throws basically a devastating pick that ended the game. And I say this all the time, basically past like the first Thursday night game is, do you win or do you lose? It doesn't matter how pretty it was, because for a lot of it, Joe Burrow, it wasn't that pretty. Now, ultimately, he made enough throws. T. Higgins made a big play. Jamar Chase made a play, and they won the game. To me, anytime you just want to get at, you could argue even the first Thursday night game on that, the Charger-Chiefs game, because obviously as the year goes long, you have like, by the time you get to like November and December and you playing on a short week, that is just brutal. The only thing you care about, winning the game, get out of there. The Bengals did it. Let's face it, they've kind of, I don't want to say saved their season, but at 0-2, a team that was just in the Super Bowl, where like I thought the Bengals were going to be some power. Then they looked pretty shitty the first 2 weeks. Now they're 2-2. Feels like they got a little momentum. Now they got kind of the mini bye. Their passing game with Burrow, Higgins, and Chase is just pretty awesome when it's on. Higgins, I say it all the time, I was way off. I did not realize he was that good. Obviously, Jamar Chase, who's kind of had a slow start to this season, is a star. So as long as you got those two guys and Joe Burrow with Mixon, if your defense just plays solid, like you're a playoff team. And the crazy part about Joe Burrow is I was thinking tonight, like relative to Justin Herbert, who physically is just this monster, has this enormous arm. Like Joe Burrow's not the biggest guy. He doesn't have the biggest arm. I say this all the time, like some guys just have instincts to play the position, and he is just an instinctive player. because he's not the most physically gifted by any means, but the dude can really play. And really, since the Bengals got him, he changed their franchise. They obviously hit on the two wide receivers. But like you watch them tonight, they're flawed. Like by no means are they some A. I wouldn't call them. I was gonna say I wouldn't call them a power. When I say that, I mean top to bottom, their roster has still got some major flaws, but they're a good team, and they have a chance to beat anyone specifically because of the quarterback and really the two wide receivers, just are big time playmakers. So you say big win for the Bengals. Feels weird to say on a night where, again, we thought a guy might have died on the field, but seems he's okay. Flying home with the team. Prayers up to Tua. Yeah, still alive.